thing about them is that they look hungry. Hunger is something I recognize only too well because of the number of times I have experienced it, including right at this very moment. It is all around us, never far away, waiting to come and gnaw viciously at the belly when there is not even the end of a loaf to fill it. My mother says that we get by with the grace of God and our wits, but it seems to me that oftentimes even those things are not enough. I can already tell that these people are not Albanian. Albanian women wear headscarves, sometimes tied and sometimes hanging loose around their heads, as if they have just been thrown on temporarily to guard against the fierce midday sun. These women's heads are bare. The men are hatless and clean-shaven, dressed in suits, again completely different from my father and the men of the town who, for the most part, wear waistcoats and tall hats and sport long beards. Flattening myself against the wall of the nearest wharf, half hidden behind a stack of piled-up crates, I wait for this peculiar troop to draw near. As they shuffle past, I listen carefully. They aren't saying much, seeming too tired and worn out for speech. But the words they do utter are in an unfamiliar language that I don't understand. Other than Albanian, I only know Italian, and it definitely isn't that. It sounds completely different, harsher and staccato like the irregular banging of a drum. Mystified, I watch them pass. Who are they? Where have they come from? And where are they going? I have to take my puzzlement and my unanswered questions away with me. It is only a few days later that I get any enlightenment, and even then I have no way of knowing that these people are the first ripples on the water that presage the coming storm, and that my life and theirs will be inextricably linked for more than half a century.
Chapter 1. Italy, 2019. Stepping out of the echoing terminal building, Ruth instinctively raised her hand to shield her eyes from the scorching white intensity of the brilliant light. She halted in her tracks as swarms of people buzzed past on either side of her, entering, exiting, crossing, all talking at the tops of their voices, all seemingly intent on where they were going, pushing trolleys that dripped with assorted luggage. It was simultaneously bewildering and intoxicating, but underneath it all pulsed the irregular beat of Ruth's own uncertainty. Fumbling for her sunglasses, she hastily put them on and waited, momentarily, for her head to cease throbbing. Steeling herself, she ventured forth, and then immediately stopped again as she looked for the signage to the car rental office. She was here, in Brindisi Airport in the heel of Italy, in order to restart her life. Or rethink it, rehash it, whatever. The whole point was to be brave and bold, to deal with the personal with the same assurance and confidence that she'd always brought to her work. But it was different, somehow. Apart from anything else, she didn't have any work anymore. For the first time in 25 years, she was unemployed. She'd been let go, made redundant, unceremoniously cast off from her job as a newsreader for a regional TV station. However you wanted to look at it, it was pretty bleak. Facing an uncertain future at 45 years old, completely alone. Now, if ever, was the time for courage. In her head she pronounced the word the French way, as if that made it seem infinitely more galvanizing. But courage was a quality that seemed to have a remarkable ability to make itself scarce just when it was most needed. Riven with self-doubt, Ruth stood, motionless and despairing, until the sharp thrust of metal against her ankle galvanized her to take evasive action. "Scusi, scusi!" shouted an Italian child, who could not have been more than 10 years old and who was, inexpertly and with great difficulty, manoeuvring a trolley piled high with baggage along the concourse, clipping heels and running over the toes of innocent bystanders all along the way. Ruth smiled and shook her head. "It's okay."